Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Star Trek Prodigy Season 1 Episode 1, Lost and Found. This video is a part of a series of videos where I will review episodes of Star Trek Prodigy, so I'll have to start with a spoiler warning for Star Trek Prodigy. Our very first pilot episode. I don't know if it's a pilot episode, but it's a first episode anyway. If you haven't seen this episode, you will not want to watch this video. Otherwise, some things will be spoiled for you. So, I know a lot of people were a bit iffy about Prodigy. They weren't sure if they wanted to watch it or not because is it a show that's geared towards kids or whatever. I was actually excited about this show because I saw from the promotional materials it looked like a really interesting premise with interesting characters. It's set in the Delta Quadrant, which we'll see more as the series goes on if they actually utilize that. Yeah, I was actually really excited for the show, probably more so than Discovery Season 4, to be honest. I was looking forward to this a bit more. So what I think of the pilot episode then? I loved it. I was impressed, I gotta say. Now, as for this being a show geared towards kids, and a lot of people be worried about, oh, this is just a Nickelodeon kids show. Yes, this show is totally geared towards kids. And not even like, because I thought it might be something like Star Wars Clone Wars, which is kind of geared towards kids, but that's more of geared towards teenagers, and the later seasons are flat out geared towards adults. Like that's some really adult shit they get into in the later seasons. But at even the earlier seasons, it was more like, you know, young teenagers or whatever. And so I thought, well, maybe this will be the same thing. But no, this show is very clearly geared towards kids and younger kids. Maybe I would say like age 7, 8 and up. So yeah, so the thing about I enjoy watching like Pixar movies and stuff like that, and that's geared towards pretty much the same age base, but they also like make it kind of inclusive to adults. Like a good example of that is the movie Inside Out, because that's like kids can watch it, they can enjoy the you know, the funny, the sad person and the angry person, but if you look at it, it's like really complex grown-up theme for examining the inner workings of one's mind that like it's gonna go over the heads of most kids. So it's almost like geared towards adults just as much as kids, but in different ways. Now, is Star Trek Prodigy as brilliant as Pixar? Well, no. At least not the great Pixar. Not like the Inside Out, the Wall-E, or the Finding Nemo type thing. I wouldn't put it quite in that category, at least the pilot episode. But I would put it above lesser Pixar, like The Good Dinosaur, because that movie wasn't even that good. And Cars, which I didn't even like. And it does remind me a bit of Pixar. A bit, especially in its the animation. By the way, the animation is beautiful. The music is beautiful. Like, this is a really kind of like Discovery. This is a really well produced show. It's like a cinematic quality, which is different than something like Lower Decks, but Lower Decks isn't trying to be that. Lower Decks is trying to be an animated comedy show like, say, BoJack Horseman or Rick and Morty or Family Guy or something like that. And it has that style, does that style, so that works for the show. Nothing wrong with that. But this is going for like more of a cinematic, like kind of animated, high quality animated show you go see in the movie theater, and it pulls it off like beautifully. Now here's the thing. There are some kids movies and kids stuff that I don't like, that I think is too juvenile for me and beneath me, now not being like that, but it's just, I don't think there's anything for adults. Like, I think you have to be a kid to enjoy it. Minions is the prime example of that, and even for a lesser extent, like the Despicable Me movies and the other, I guess, more DreamWorks stuff, tend to be like less enjoyable for adults, and it's kind of just for the kids. And I do think the Prodigy was better than that. Like, I can look at it that way, and I think that's what a lot of people who are like, oh, it's a kid's show, are worried about that. They're worried that's going to be like a meaningless, like, silly BS that you have to be a kid in order to like it or find it fun, and if you're adult, it's just kind of silly and stupid, which there are a lot of, as I said, there are a lot of kids movies like that. But because I'm not actually a huge fan of family films or in kids movies and stuff, or Disney films, I don't go all crazy over Disney as some people did. I did like Raya and the Last Dragon, though. That was really good. I have yet to see Frozen. That's how uninterested in Disney that I am. But Moana I did see, of course, because that was the Polynesian thing. You know, living in New Zealand, I had to see that. But and that was a pretty good movie. But anyway, so there's a difference between quality kid stuff that adults can enjoy and just garbage that parents throw on for the kids to watch while they go out and, you know, clean the house or do important stuff so they're not bothered by the annoying kids. And Prodigy, I think, most definitely falls into that first category of stuff that adults can enjoy as well. Now, is it like, it's, as I said, it's very obviously geared towards kids, unlike Clone Wars, because it is, you know, that has these goofy characters like the and he doesn't even look like a Tellarite to me, but they say he's a Tellarite. And why is it, this is set in the Delta Quadrant, why they have a Tellarite, and for that matter, why they have a Medusan. Now, Medusans are like super advanced beings, so I can see them going to the Delta Quadrant, but a Tellarite, like, how's that? I don't know. Anyway, regardless, the Tellarite character was very like goofy, and like he was very childlike. It was very kiddish type humor, like the way he was like, oh, whoa, look at me clean this, blah blah. And even the main character guy, oh god, I haven't learned any of their names yet, so you have to excuse me. But the main character guy was also a bit like silly and goofy. It was like, well, he reminded me a lot of a modern kids movie character, which is kind of I think maybe my least favorite aspect. Not the character entirely, because just like his demeanor, like the jokes that they made and how he said, oh, I can do this and blah blah blah. But I think they actually gave him a pretty interesting backstory. They have some really fleshed out characters, such as again, I'm blanking on their names, with the one girl who was the bad guy or whatever, who looks like is going to be a member of our main crew. I really get a Gamora feel with her, like that. And isn't she pretty much like, didn't they say that the main bad guy dude is her dad? Like, I watched another review when they said, oh, it's just some other guy who's interested in her. But no, I thought they said that he was her father. Maybe he's her adopted father. And it's like, you know, Thanos and Gamora. I get a really strong Gamora feel with her, and that's definitely going to be true if she becomes part of their Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, part of their crew. And it's going to be, she's pretty much the Gamora character, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. And you know what? I don't care what anyone says. That one little blob thing, was his name Fernie or whatever his name was. He's cute. I don't give a damn what people say. I like him. Just like I said that about BB-8. I love BB-8, and I love this, like, blob thing. And it's obvious, like, pandering, and they're going to sell lots of toys with this thing. But I don't care. I thought it was cute. I loved it. But most of all, my favorite character was Zero. Most of the time they refer to her as like Fugitive Zero, the Medusan. It is a very, even though it doesn't make sense that Medusan would be in a Delta Quadrant, it's a very interesting prospect to take this obscure species that only appeared in one episode of the original series, not a very good one, and make her a main character and have it so, you know, she's not even corporeal being, but she created this like robot body. Like, that's cool. I'm sorry, but that's really, really cool. And I like the stone creature character. Again, I don't know any of their names, but she was really cool. I kind of knew from the previews with like that she would like have this like little child like voice, but it was funny at the start of the episode where they didn't have the translators, and she came off as like this like this monster type, and once she's actually translated works and she starts talking, it's just like comes off as a little child. And I think they pulled that off wonderfully, and more to the point, like I really like the story of the pilot. I think this is probably one. I'm gonna give it some time. I'm not gonna make any definitive statements right now after I just watched it. But this is probably one of the best pilots of that Star Trek has ever done. Now, another show that I said that about and I stand by is Picard. Not pilot, but you know what I mean. First episode. Picard's first episode, I think, was one of the best, if not the best, of Star Trek, but then the rest of the series went downhill. So I'm not willing to say that Prodigy is amazing and the show is awesome. It's proved itself to me because there's only been one episode. I'm saying that the first episode proved it one of the best first episodes, but who knows? Maybe it will go downhill like Picard did. Like I'm still iffy, because especially like it had a really strong premise with the first episode, because it showed them in this, mining prison and them like meeting each other and breaking out. But it seems like now that they're off in space, the premise won't be as strong. That it's going to be like, oh, they're just going from adventure to adventure with no purpose, and while the bad guys try to chase them. Like, that is something we've seen before. So I think it is going to be harder to maintain any level of quality after this pilot episode. So that's especially why I'm going to withhold my judgment and not say the show is amazing. But I do think this episode was amazing. I think this episode worked. As I said, it was beautiful. The animation. I was really into the characters. Even, the childlike humor. I'm willing to give it a pass because it wasn't actively annoying like the Minions, for example, or some other like kids shows or kids movies. Like I was staying with people who had kids and I was watching a bunch of kids shows, and some of them were tolerable and others like it just grated on the nerves where the kids are going, oh, and the humor is obviously silly and ridiculous and just meant for kids and not adults at all. And that's not the case here. It's not grating. Even though I'm not that big into some of the jokes and it was very childish, it's not annoying to the level of grating on the nerves. It's fine. Like, I'm willing to go with it, give it a pass, whatever. Because I think the story was a well-written story that adults can enjoy. And it was, complex characters, situation, everything. I don't know what else to say. Now, we didn't even get much of Janeway in this episode, so, and I'm really looking forward to that. They did tease us at the very end with the Janeway hologram, so it will be interesting to see how because this episode didn't really relate to Star Trek that much, other than, of course, name-dropping Medusans or Tellarites. But, and we saw Kazon. And that's the only Delta. And they refer to it as the Delta Quadrant, but they're in the Delta Quadrant. They wouldn't really call it the Delta Quadrant, would they? But anyway, it's for the audience to know the setting. But then you see the Kazon. I want to see more Delta Quadrant species. As I said, they have to take advantage. If they do all these Alpha Quadrant species, that's going to annoy me. If you're going to set it in the Delta Quadrant, which is something I'm really interested in the prospect of setting in the Delta Quadrant. So I want to see Vidians. I want to see Herosian. I want to see the freaking Malon. I want to see Neelix pop up. No, maybe not Neelix. I don't know, but Ocampa, sure. I want to see more of that. Now, if they don't take advantage of that, then what's the point? Then what is the point? Just so you could have a Kazon show up and go, I'm selling you this cute-looking rabbit. And by the way, they better free that rabbit girl. Anyway, so there needs to be more of a reason. They got to earn setting it in the Delta Quadrant. Although, one reason I can say right from this first episode was the fact that the Starfleet ship is like this prize that the main bad guy is going after. Is like, this is my prize. And that makes more sense in the Delta Quadrant because Starfleet technology, particularly in the area the Kazon we're seen to be in, and we see a Kazon pop up here, was seen to be a lot less advanced than the Federation. In fact, the dude actually name drops the Federation as well. And so I could see there, and this would be really interesting. This is clearly taking place after Voyager did, and so there was all these legends and stuff about the Federation. And of course, we do need to find out how the hell this Starfleet ship got here in the first place. And maybe he came up with some weird technology thing to grab it, specifically because of all the legends or whatever they heard of the Federation and their superior technology. Although, if he could grab it from the Alpha Quadrant, then he has superior technology, so what the fuck does he need the Starfleet for? So, they better come up with a good reason for it. Anyway, but that makes sense that he would see this as a prize and something really huge that he desperately wants. I don't think he grabbed that. I think he probably heard about it. Some accident or something brought it there, I'm sure. I'll wait to see what they say. But it makes sense. If they said in the Alpha Quadrant, it wouldn't make as much sense. Unless this is like a lesser species, but then you gotta limit it to that one area. You can't have a great scope like the whole region is sort of impressed by... And by the way, we better not don't bother with the Borg, please. I don't want to see any Borg in this show, period. Anyway, and enough! Voyager totally overdid the Borg. Enough with the damn Borg. Let's focus on the other stuff. I'd rather see the Malon. Anyway, or those hierarchy, bubbly dudes, oh, a hierarchy, let me use the bathroom. Anyway, it'd be cool to see them. Really, this is probably the area of the region where Voyager first came, so we should see more species like the Ocampan or that one Neo-Nora species where the lady had a dog and was smoking a cigarette and trying to frame Tom Paris for killing her husband. Anyway, what a terrible episode. Anyway, or that guy was like, I want to give you pleasure. Let's see that guy. Anyway, so it should be more like season 1, 2, maybe even 3 species rather than the hierarchy dudes. But earn it being in the Delta Quadrant. Please, please, please. More Delta Quadrant species. That's all I ask. Anyway, I'm loving the show so far. I think this is a great start to it. So my rating for Lost and Found out of 10, I'm going to give this a 9. Excellent. I loved it. I think it was great. Maybe, not 10 great level, but still really impressed. Music, animation. I mean, you got to drop it a 9 for the kiddie humor, but that's fine. I'm willing to go with it, though, because the characters... really worked. They were really well introduced. They're dynamic, having this adventure. I love that Zero character. Absolutely. Amazing. Anyway, so that is it for my review of the first episode of Star Trek Prodigy. So I shall be back every week to cover future episodes of Prodigy. So be sure to check me out for that, and also check me out as I cover many other shows, such as many other Star Trek stuff, as well as covering shows like The Expanse, Star Wars, Clone Wars, and more. So be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. And thanks a lot for watching.